Okay, good morning once again. It's been a while since we met. It has become difficult getting somebody to take the video, and that is why today it has taken another form. So today I'm not in a typical classroom that I'm sitting down. I'm using Selfie to do that. The last time we met, we talked about conditions of service, and I brought Ghana Education Service document, that is their conditions of service for teaching staff. If you were careful to look at the title of that document, it was collective agreement for Ghana Education Service teaching staff. That was how it was titled. And so we learned that means that the content, whatever was in all those things we talked about, they were not decisions that were taken unilaterally. When I say they were not decisions that were taken unilaterally, it means that it was not one person that took that decision. The employer, and that is Ghana Education Service, and then the representatives of the employees, that is the unions. We can talk about Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. You can talk about NAGRAT. You can talk about CCT, and so on and so forth. These recognized unions met with Ghana Education Service in 2020, as the document told us. I think that was in February, to come out collectively with everything. So the allowances that were supposed to be paid, everything was done by the two parties. So it was not Ghana Education, that was the employer alone that said, this is how much I'm going to pay to you for this. This is what I'm going to do, and so on and so forth. So today we are looking at collective bargaining. We will look at the meaning. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to define collective bargaining. What is collective bargaining? Then you should be able to also at least discuss four advantages, or explain four advantages of collective bargaining. What is collective bargaining? Now, when you go to the market and then you want to buy something, and the person quotes a certain price, and you think the person is on high side, what do? You bargain. So the person will be on the high side. So, for example, the person says it's 100 cedis. You also tell the person you pay 20 cedis. So you see, the person is on high side, and you may also be on a low side. So whilst the person will be coming down, you'll be moving up. Then you reach consensus. So at the end of the day, you might buy the thing at 40 Ghana cedis. You see, at 40 Ghana cedis. You bought the thing through bargaining. So all the things, the conditions of service, everything, all the headings, session 1.1.2, everything was done by the two parties collectively. That means the two parties came together to discuss the issue. So how much is supposed to be paid to the teacher in terms of allowances? It was not only Ghana Education Service that decided it. The two parties came together to decide. So always the employer will quote a lower price, then the employee will quote a higher price, and then the two of them will now come into, either we use the word compromise or consensus. When we are talking about law of contract, we talked about consensus ad idem, meeting of minds. So you know what is meant by when you say the parties have come into consensus. So what is collective bargaining? Collective bargaining is a process whereby the representatives, so you take note of, it's representatives of employees. So that means it is not all the employees that will go and meet the employer. So they are representatives. In this case, that will be the leadership of the group. So if Ghana Education Service has, let's assume only 3 unions, NAGRAT, NAT, CCT, what it then means is that the leadership of a certain number of the leadership of the various associations will go and meet the employer, that is Ghana Education Service, to discuss issues that are of mutual benefit. So they meet together to negotiate. So bargaining, to negotiate. So instead of saying they meet together to bargain, the word we can use to, you see, it is not good to use a word to explain the word. So instead of saying bargain, we can say negotiate. So the process whereby the representatives of the employees and that of the employer meet together and negotiate on behalf of their group or the association. So the negotiation is not being done on their own behalf. They are doing that in respect of the interest of their members. So on behalf of their group, on matters that are referred to them, or on matters that concerns the employer under the employees, and then their conditions of service, the contract of employment, and a whole lot of other things will be discussed in order to arrive at consensus, or in order to come into compromise. So that is what collective bargaining is all about. They bargain over an agreed upon income, so how much is supposed to be paid. They agree upon job security. They agreed upon working conditions and other terms of employment that are referred to them. So efforts are made to reach consensus or agreement. So that is what collective bargaining is all about. Okay, so let's continue. Now let's look at the concept of shop steward or union steward. Who is a shop steward? Who is union steward in respect of collective bargaining? Now, the employees representative, that means you are representing the employee. So the one who represents and defends, so he represents and he defends his or her fellow employees. And also the person is a union official. So number one, he is an employee and a union official who represents and defends his fellow employees. Is the one we call shop steward. So that is who a shop steward is. Now we are going to look at the advantages of collective bargaining. What is good about collective bargaining? Number one, now you understand the concept of democracy in politics. When you say democracy, we know it. Now look at collective bargaining that we have talked about. How is it related to democracy? So collective bargaining, number one, serves as a tool of industrial democracy. So, you are in an industry and you are allowed to participate in decision making. It is not only the employer that decides on matters that concerns or matters that concern employment. So the two parties will come together to argue, to deliberate, and to influence each other. And so you see, you are participating in decision making. And if you are participating in decision making, we are looking at democracy. So that is why we say it is a tool of industrial democracy. 2, it also helps to develop good relationship between the employer and then the employee. The two parties will communicate to the extent that they come to understand each other's viewpoint. When that happens, there will be industrial harmony. When I say industrial harmony, then it means that the organization will be free from conflict and industrial actions, like we are looking at strike actions and so on and so forth. So it brings about good relationship or industrial relationship between the employer and then the union and their members as a whole. So that is another important advantage of collective bargaining. Another advantage is that, you see, in every organization, you work according to your objective. So you set objective. Remember, when we were talking about planning, the first thing you do is to set objective. Remember, when we were talking about the principles of planning, we look at realistic objective. We talked about you not being over optimistic. Now, when the two parties come together, that's both the employer and then the employee come together to discuss on issues pertaining to targets and then the targets and objective, then you see objectives or targets will be realistically established or set, because it is not something that was done by only the employer. So if you are saying that by the end of the year, this is what they should be able to do, you were not the only one who came out. They were involved. So you'll be able to set realistic objective. Once you set realistic objective, and once they were involved in setting that objective, they will work hard in its implementation, and that can lead to higher productivity. So that is also another advantage of collective bargaining. It makes it possible for targets and objectives to be realistically set. Another advantage of collective bargaining has also got to do with the fact that it reduces labor turnover. Remember, we have learned that labor turnover is the rate at which workers are employed and they leave the workplace. We shall talk about it in detail, but there are several ways that workers can leave. For example, there's a natural one, that is retirement. When you reach a certain age, you have to go home, you have to retire. So you have left. So if everyone is to leave the workplace as a result of retirement, then you see that labor turnover will be very low, because the person will work in that organization till the person reaches the compulsory retirement age, which is 60, before the person leaves. But there are several other factors that can also come in. For example, somebody can resign, and this is what is most important in respect of what we are doing now. So when somebody comes to a workplace and conditions of service, there's nothing to write home about, then the person will leave. But if management takes unilateral decisions, then it means that they'll be taking decisions that will not inure to the benefit of the employee. So if the person sees that his conditions of service is bad and a whole lot of other things are not as he or she wants, because management took unilateral decision, then the person may leave the organization. But when you do things collectively, then it will reduce at the rate, and you implement, it will reduce the rate at which people will be leaving the organization. So labor turnover will be low, it will not be high, and it's very important for you to have low labor turnover. So that is the fourth point. And the last point here, the fifth point, is that collective bargaining process provides the machinery through which all conflicts are resolved. Now, if you can resolve any conflict in the industry or in the organization, the collective bargaining is very important. If there is any discrepancy, if there is any difference in respect of what the employees want and what the employer wants to do or wants to give, then when the two parties come together, that is the only place they can resolve the conflict. So it is better to resolve conflicts through negotiations. We shall look at that one too. So these are the advantage, or some of the advantages of collective bargaining. So this morning we have talked about the meaning of collective bargaining. Then we also looked at the advantages of collective bargaining. And remember, to sum up, we said that collective bargaining is the process by which representatives of employers and that of employees meet together to discuss issues that are of mutual benefit. And we talk about some of the things they negotiate on. Then we also look at the advantages of collective bargaining. We said that it serves as a tool of industrial democracy, where you participate, the employees also participate in decision making. We talked about the fact that it serves as a platform whereby all conflicts can be resolved amicably. Then we also talked about the fact that through collective bargaining, targets and objectives are realistically established, and so forth. We shall meet again another time. To meet again, please note that you are supposed to make comments to show that you have come here to watch the video. When we are through with everything, then I'll provide you the sheet to write your name on the WhatsApp platform. Remember, to remain on that platform, you are supposed to be active, and you know the definition of being active. If you are not active, I'll remove you from the platform. You are also supposed to read your books. You have the books. If you come here to watch the video and you don't sit down to organize yourself by reading the material that you have, that one is a very big problem. So don't think that everybody is writing well understood and so on so forth. But please, let there be variety. If you are all writing the same thing, everybody well understood, no, it makes it monotonous. There should be variety. Don't just repeat what somebody has said. The English language is flexible, and you can also decide to write your own thing. So don't just be repeating where understood. So that is that. Please read your books. Sit down to study the materials. Till we meet again another time. Bye-bye.